now I would really like to introduce Eleanor Taylor. And she and her husband Charles were the ones who bought the railroad station and had the vision to save it and then to donate it to our historical society. So please welcome Eleanor.
A friendly group, so if I make any mistakes, you'll inform me. First of all, I'm almost unable to speak. I am so grateful to all of you, because what you all have done, and the people that will follow you in these different roles and preceded you in these different roles, have made our dream come true. We came to New Hampshire in '72. We came from Willie Penn's land, Pennsylvania, where we grew up, with lots of beautiful farms and stone houses and all this kind of historic stuff was in our blood as kids growing up. So when we moved up here, of course, you know, there's so much to be enjoyed, and we didn't know really anyone when we moved up here, and we started kind of getting acquainted with people through the New London Historical Society and Mildred Tunis. So as I'm reading this little history here, Mildred Tunis was I think the town historian for New London, but our interest was really the history and getting to know people through work bees and all that kind of stuff at the New London Historical Society. So we got to know Bud Lauritsen and some of these different people that put that together. And as we kind of spread our wings out a little bit more, Charlie, my husband, was interested in writing as well as reading history and all kinds of things. So he and another fellow started a little local paper called the New London Review. And he was interested in going all over the state and researching different things that were going on, linked to history, all over New Hampshire. And as he did that, he started noticing these railroad stations all over the place. And some of them were laundromats. Some of them were lumber storage buildings. Some of them were pristine, tucked in the woods where you would barely see them. But he was an explorer from, you know, little guy. So as it came, time went along, and as it came about, the Boston and Maine had a covenant on the building, and you could not have any alternate use in that building. But we had neighbors, the Roaches, who lived near us on Cross Hill Road, and their son Nick, who lived right adjacent to the railroad station, I think, down there. And they had owned it, and changes were going on in their family life, and they were willing to sell the building, but we kind of had to wait until the Boston and Maine's covenants about this and that were expired, I guess is the word. We were so fortunate to be able to acquire the building, and the thing that we knew right off the bat was it needed an alternate use. It couldn't just sit there. You know, we could do the work on it and restore it and kind of do that physical stuff, but it had to have an alternate use. So we decided, well, we're interested in antiques and collectible stuff and transportation, everything transportation, trains, boats, planes, whatever. But I think what we really hoped to have happen over time was that the village would be Andover's precious historical society. So one thing led to another, and that has come to pass. But as we were restoring the building, we were able, more Charlie than myself, were able to go around and find bits and pieces to really make the station master's office authentic. And the potbelly stove, and you know, different pieces of the way that building should be kind of came together for us. And then, of course, the story of the canoe and Barbara Upton and the Dunns and the whole thing, kind of, you know, just one of those things in time that was meant to be. And everybody had the interest and the work ethic and the legal guidance, I would say, to have this heartbeat, you know, this core, which was the railroad station building, get the dream going. So We kind of opened it as an antique shop, but what happened that was so exciting was that people would drop by and tell us stories about riding the train, and of all ages of people. Some people, there were a couple of people who were actually not from this area, but had either been engineers or they'd worked on the railroad in some fashion or other. So I think we learned more than we kind of anticipated that we would with this project, because we were all there doing whatever needed doing for the building to be sound at the time. And it was just a great, wonderful experience. I think that when the press did some of these things, when the actual gift was done, and they sort of, I think they tried to sort of summarize what Charlie's vision was for the preservation of the building. And the gist of what he said was, we're all moving so, even then, right, 20 whatever years ago, we're all moving so fast that we forget, as it says somewhere in here, that the past has to have a future. So I don't know exactly whose quote that was, but that's what you all have done. You've given the past a future. And that's hard to quantify in any way. It's just a terrific thing. And I think more than ever these days, as fast as we all are pressed to go in every direction in our family lives and work lives, there has to be some steady anchor, I guess would be one word, to keep children knowing how things used to be, and the old time fair and all the things that you all do allows that to happen. If we had not had the ability to, or the interest, I guess, to get involved with this preservation, who knows what the Historical Society, there wouldn't be, well, there could have been one, but it wouldn't have been in that building where it belongs. And, maybe there would be lumber sticking out of the windows and the slate roof would be falling off and everything else. But we had a lot of fun restoring it, and so much help with both legally and otherwise. And one of the fun little pieces of it was that the land behind where the Magic Garden is, and the house that's, you cannot see from the station, it's still standing, came up for sale somehow. So we were able to get that and sort of secure where Richard Potter's grave site supposedly is, and then down into the garden, which is now the Magic Garden, and the next house over. So that gave us that buffer that you really need, so that someone can't build, and there's covenants about not being able to build there or do change any physical attributes, and destroy anything that's, keeps it kind of protected. I think one of the nicest things about living in New England, and particularly right here, is that people really do care about one another. They look out for each other, and they care about their communities. And actually, that's how we grew up in Pennsylvania too. People really wanted to, they just had a sense of values, and historic preservation was a big element in that, because there's so much that you can't replace. So all the work that you all do keeps that legacy, I guess I'll call it, for our kids and the next people that come along after all of us. There's really no describing what it's like to be a part of an organization like you all have created. It brings new friendships, it brings new energies. The sense of community, I think, is maybe the key thing to be thought about here tonight, is that what you all have built has brought in people that I would not have ever met, but who all want the same thing, which is the pride in this community and your neighbors, and it has a house. it has a village now, so that's so nice. Anyway, Mildred Tunis said to Charlie, who was writing a book at the time, why don't you, he said, how come the New London Historical Society is never open? I'm writing a book and I'd be happy to go there Saturdays and sit there and work on my book, and let's have it open on Saturdays. This is New London Historical Society. And so she said, oh, okay, that's a good idea. She said, I'll take a Saturday, you can take a Saturday, and we'll do this. So what you all are doing is kind of an offspring of that. So let's have this open for people to really enjoy it, because there's just nothing like it. It's very special. So other than that, I'm answering any questions if you want. I haven't given you more history than you already have printed out here, but it's kind of fun to know that this comes from our growing up and the generations of the people before us who loved antiques, who loved historic buildings. My personal family home was built around 4 mantelpieces in Pennsylvania, and just, you know, that kind of feeling of you're inheriting something else from a previous time, and you're keeping it a treasure and passing it along. So that's kind of what's in our blood, and I'm glad you all are doing what you're doing. I'm really so proud of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So, we're currently working on the semaphore or the train order board
Yes.
to make it operational.
Yep.
And a question came up as to whether that was there when you bought the station or whether that was something that you found.
Great, yeah, it's a great question. When we went around, we had to find the arms. I think there, and I should really look back at newspapers and previous pictures, postcards, all this early stuff, and see what shows up in those documents, because I don't think that we have a personal photograph of that part of, you know, maybe lots around the building, but maybe not the semaphore and all that stuff. So I think we had to find those arms. Some gentleman in the room is going to be able to tell me what they're actually called, the signal arms. But yeah, so whatever was not there might have been, that's the other thing. The vandalism was about to happen when we were able to get the building. So we knew that that would happen because of other stations that we'd seen other places. That's what happened, you know, it's kind of the, whoever wants to have fun destroying something, that was starting to happen in the early 70s, yeah. So I don't know that I have the exact answer, but I'll look at some photos and see what I can find out. Yeah, Gail.
Yeah, were there any railroad items in there still when you purchased it?
The stove was not, I can tell you that, because that was interesting. There was no bathroom, we had to have that, and you don't use that now, but we had to find the little sink and the, all that mechanical stuff. Yeah,
The
right.
children love looking at that.
Right.
But I mean, there were no
Actually,
actual artifacts. in there.
no,
Was
I don't
anything-
think anything was in there. And what Charlie did was he sandblasted all of the old dark paint off so you could see the ash wood behind it. And then we had a couple of people do interior work, like the little stencil is still up there, right, of the old-fashioned train. And just really, I think the whole idea was to make it sound, but also reveal the beauty and how it was built. So, no, most everything that we collected was for the purpose of keeping that station master's office authentic, yeah. So that was a kind of a fun, continuing treasure hunt.
Well, I would think that there are numerous artifacts in there.
Yeah, yeah.
All of us know. It's very fun.
Yeah, good,
Did the
yes.
Freight House come with did the Freight House come with the station, or was that a?
No, that belonged to Amos Johnson, and he was storing lumber and so forth in there. And somewhere in one of these articles it says when the trains, I think the passenger trains, somebody helped me with this, stopped running in the 60s. But they still ran freight occasionally. And then there was the
Freedom
Freedom Train, and that was about it, I think.
Yes, I think that was the last train.
Yeah, and so that's probably how the Boston and Maine Covenant had an end, yeah, because they weren't doing the passenger trains. We still had to provide a public restroom, but that was okay. Such as it was, right? Yeah, so anyway, and when the opening, and the actual donation day occurred, it says here, let me see, we're about 400 people. Let me see if I can find it real quickly here. They said we had over 400 and some people come to that, 450 people, it says, watches as, the station was donated and so forth. So right away you have this energy that now has become you all, the people that really want to work and keep it going. So good. So thanks, everybody.
I have a question. Was Dutch Morse
Yes.
a part of the deed work when you donated it?
No, it's Mr. Dunn.
Oh, okay.
So I think that really came through Barbara and George Upton, and they had worked with him and decided to involve him, and so that all really went pretty smoothly. It was just a matter of what the logistical stuff was with the actual covenants from the Boston and Maine, clearing that up, and making sure that the land behind that belonged to this other house, where his Richard Potter's gravesite is, everything could be contiguous and not broken up ever. So I hope that's still the fact, because it makes such a nice
It's wonderful to have all that space.
Yes. Okay.
holding, I guess I will call it, so anyway.
It's wonderful to have it tie in to Richard Potter.
Yeah. So I've read the book, I've listened to John's talk, and so the word is out. It's a very special place, and I'm so proud of you all for doing what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. That was wonderful. Thanks, Ellie. And thank you all for all you do. It's very heartfelt. Thank you for me, particularly for all you. So, thank you all. Refreshments at back, apple crisp is up there. And